Divine Feminine Twin Flame. In this video, I am focusing specifically on the different phases of separation that you will experience with your other self. So in the beginning phases of separation, after there's been soul recognition and the divine masculine counterpart of your soul has run, the divine feminine goes into the period that we often refer to as the dark night of the soul, the D-knots. And in this phase, most likely you are, if you are divine feminine listening to this, you are going through some very heavy, dense periods of crying, feeling broken, despondent. You may be huddled up in a ball or can't get out of bed. You're in the fetus position, long bouts of crying. It just feels like a never-ending dark tunnel as you're trying to make sense of what's happened, trying to figure it out. And the mind is very, very much in overdrive. And it's got divine feminine. It'll have you gripped so tightly in this period of pain and agony that you just feel like you can't barely take care of yourself. Okay, that is the beginning phase of Dark Night of the Soul. And as the information and the help starts to come in, which is your soul providing guidance to you as to what this is, and you start to understand it bit by bit, this pain begins to dissipate out. The mind will eventually calm down, and this phase takes a bit. Everybody goes through their phases at their own paces, so I want to remind you, don't compare your journey to anybody else's, because your journey is unique to you and what your soul is having you experience and where your tight spots are. So in the next phase of separation, you're going to go through a lot of what we call oscillations or triggers. As you begin to really understand it and accept the journey, you will have periods where you're going, okay, I've got my footing under me, and then one day you feel like the rug's pulled out again, and you go back into more crying, more overdrive of the mind, and that can last anywhere from a few days to maybe another week. It's more in the beginning, and eventually it evens out. Further on in the journey, these oscillations will happen rather quickly, and as you are stronger and able to hold the energy, or your balance your energy, you'll move through them sometimes in a matter of hours and minutes. So these periods are nothing to fear. They are the purification phase that your soul is going through. And now I want to say that separation, another way to think about it is to look at it as purification, and it's a very sacred time for you as the divine feminine to go on your inward journey, inward into your own inner temple. So remember that the divine masculine, when there's been soul recognition, their role is to trigger you so that you sit and will look at your core wounds. And mind you, they also have the same core wounds as you. You being the spiritual twin, you go first. So don't fear these periods of separation and purification. Rather, a very helpful way to look at them, I found, was to simply say this is a very sacred time, and sacred times are when you go inward and you do your own inner work. Neither party, neither part of the soul sees the other during their periods of purification. Okay, that's just the way it's set up. Now, as you get through these more advanced stages of separation, you're looking at the core wounds, you're starting to step out of the story, you're not identifying as the victim, or if you are, it's less and less. You are starting to get back, or you already are, you're focusing on your life again and finding little things that make you happy. And part of this phase is very important, is that you take in everything and remember that you're here to shine your light out. So this is where you begin as the Divine Feminine to start looking into, what am I really here to do? What is my soul calling me to do during this phase of my life? And you will know, because your soul won't let it go. You may think you can turn away from it. You maybe have some fear around it, of really fully stepping into your soul's mission, or what we call your divine purpose, or some people refer to it as their soul's divine blueprint. It's quite likely something you've known ever since you were a small child, that you were here to serve in some capacity, way, shape, or form. I know for me personally, I always knew what it was, and as I got onward into my journey, I tried to deny it. I tried to think, well, my divine masculine, my other self, he'll come back regardless of whether I'm doing my soul's mission or not. And when you get into that just causes a never-ending loop. And again, you'll drive yourself nuts with that. So take it from one who's been there. You want to really start focusing on your soul's gifts and talents, what you're here to do, to share outwardly with others. Now, because of that, when you do that, you're turning the focus inward on yourself, and this takes the spotlight off of divine masculine, and it causes divine feminine to really start to feel so much better. So if you find that your other self is nowhere near, there's been no contact, radio silence for a very long period of time, or since the first separation, this is a time I would invite you very strongly to look within and say, what am I denying looking at within myself that I'm still focusing outside of myself? This is key. You want to look, where am I being called to grow, to come into a higher version of myself? And that's your key. If your divine masculine is nowhere around, and you not even had any little inklings or manifestations of their presence, mind you, they're you. I'm just using divine masculine words for this video. It means that you need to go deeper inward into your own inner temple of, what am I here to do? Have I been addressing the core wounds? How am I to be of service? Okay, in the next video, I will go into another phase of separation. So this is going to be phase 1, 2 of the separation phase. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.